What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Season 4, Episode 7, Drop by Drop, The River Rises. Let's get into Gabriel and Isabelle. So when we see Gabriel, he's hanging out with his friend Trey. Trey is an American living in Colombia, and they knew each other from when the first time Gabe came to Colombia. So they kind of have their friendship has a history. So they're playing basketball, and Gabe says that he wants to propose to Isabelle. Trey thinks that Gabe is rushing it and that Gabe tends to be a little bit impulsive with his decision making. Trey says that Isabelle is too possessive, and according to Trey, Isabelle doesn't even like it when Gabe hangs out with him. So Gabe reveals to Trey that he's trans. Trey had no idea. So he tells Trey that when they're going to go visit Isabelle's family, and he plans to propose, but he also has another secret to tell them, that he's also trans. And so when he talks about that, he's also revealing to Trey that, he's a trans man. And Trey was visibly shocked. He had no idea that Gabe was trans. And Gabe tells him, well, this is a reason why I never accepted any of your friends' requests on my social media, because I didn't want you to find out that way. I wanted to be able to tell you face to face. So Trey is cool with it, but he was obviously shocked, but he's cool with it. And so he tells Trey that he also has to tell Isabel's family the same thing. And Trey says, well, since you're going to be telling them that you want to marry Isabelle, why don't you do that first and then wait until, a couple of years down the line to tell them that you're trans. And by that time, they already would have accepted you and loved you, and maybe they won't take it so hard. And yeah, Gabe can't do that because the show is going to air before that. So he has to tell them ASAP because he doesn't want them to find out on TV that their daughter is engaged to a trans man. So he'd rather tell them as soon as possible. Plus, he doesn't want to be in the closet. He doesn't want to be hiding and lying and all that other stuff. So he just wants to be his true authentic self with everybody. So later on, him and Isabelle are at this little cafe, restaurant, bistro type place. And Isabelle says, oh, this is where we had our very first date and blah, blah, blah. They're reminiscing about their relationship. Well, they're going to be meeting up Trey there. So Trey arrives, and so as soon as Trey sits down, he tells them that this is him and Gabe's spot. And when he said that, Gabe was like, shh, shh. And Isabelle was like, what do you mean? Shh. Why are you trying to shush him? What is he trying to say? And so, she talks about how she doesn't like secrets. She doesn't like Gabe hanging out with Trey because they think that, when they're together, they're out trying to meet other women. And so she keeps talking about how I don't like you keeping secrets from me. And so then Trey says, well, speaking of secretos, there was a big secreto that Gabe revealed to me when we were playing basketball. So he talks about how Gabe had told him that he was trans. And then they talk about how they're going to have to tell Isabelle's parents that he's trans. And then Isabelle says that her father is like uber conservative, uber Christian, and he is not very open-minded. So Gabe talks about how the people that give him the most problems about him being trans are the trolls online and the very super duper Christian conservative people. So of course he gets even more apprehensive about meeting her parents and telling them that he's trans. So we see them on their way to Isabelle's parents' house. When they arrive, they greet him, they love on him. They really do like him. And they see nothing wrong with Gabe. And I think the father even commented that this relationship is like a whole lot better than some of Isabella's past relationships. So during dinner, Gabe tells the family that this is not just a visit for him, that he actually plans to stay in Colombia and to live there permanently. And so then the father says, well, what are your intentions with my daughter if you're planning on living here permanently? And he says that his intention is to be with Isabelle for the rest of his life. And so Isabelle says that she feels the same exact way. She has the same feelings for him. The grandparents then ask the children, how do they feel about Gabe and Isabelle being together? And both of the kids say they love it. They love Gabe. They love the fact that Gabe was living with them. They adore him. So they see nothing wrong with it at all. And the father says, well, as long as God is in your heart, everything will work out. And then, of course, Gabe has a very apprehensive look on his face. So I feel like my personal opinion about this whole situation, I think that the parents are going to obviously be visibly shocked in the beginning, but I think they're going to accept the relationship. They're going to accept Gabe. I don't think that they're going to disown Isabelle, and I don't think that they're going to make Isabelle choose between them and Gabe. I just don't think so. It's going to be kind of difficult in the beginning, but I think eventually the parents will definitely come around. And I think they're going to come around sooner than later. Moving on to Rishi and Jen. Jen, you have 2 master's degree. Why didn't you read the fine print on your visa documents? And it says it on your card because the attorney spotted it right away. Like, Jen, what's going on? You have 2 masters. Why didn't you read the fine print on your documents immediately? Anywho, let's first talk about their living situation. So after the wife training, and I can't believe they call it that. That just sounds so archaic and misogynistic. After the wife training, Jen tells Rishi that, look, I don't plan on living with your family. I want it to be just the 2 of us alone in our own home. And Rishi reluctantly agrees. And then he says to her, well, can I have time to tell my family that I'm not going to be living with them after I get married and that we're going to be living on our own? So he's very apprehensive about telling his family about this. By the way, Rishi's mom looks extremely young. She looks so very young. I mean, it's hard to believe that she has a grown son, a son that's as grown as Rishi. Okay, moving on. So, I just want to like shake Rishi and just tell him, Rishi, stop with the games. Stop with the games. First of all, he's going to need all this time. He says he needs all this time to work up the nerve to tell his family that he's not going to be living with them. And then, of course, he has to tell them about Jen and being engaged to Jen and all this other stuff. I don't understand how Rishi can sit there and watch his family try to find a wife for him, be stressed out about finding the perfect wife for him, and they're just spinning their wheels. He knows that they're just spinning their wheels, that they're doing all of this for nothing because he doesn't plan on marrying any woman that they bring to him because he's already engaged to Jen. I don't understand how you can sit there and see your family, watch your family go through this process of finding you a bride, talking to all these different families in the neighborhood, putting themselves out there. Hey, we're looking for a bride for our son. We're looking for a bride for our son. And you know damn well that all of this work that they're putting in is for absolutely nothing. Rishi, I understand there's this cultural thing and I get it. Trust me, I get it. But you're doing your family a huge disservice by allowing them to waste their time and their energy on something that will just never happen. That's different from just delaying telling them that you're engaged and they're not really looking for a bride for you. If they weren't going through the hard work of trying to find a bride for you, okay, fine, I get it. But you see the work that they're putting in to find you a bride, and you're just very casually sitting back watching them waste their time. And at the end of the day, when you do reveal to them that you're already engaged to Jen, they're probably going to feel stupid. Anyways, so he says he's going to need time to tell his family that, he's not going to be living with them after they're married. So after that, Jen goes to see an immigration lawyer because she's under the impression that every 30 days, I guess to keep her visa valid, every 30 days she has to hop out of India and then hop back in. And so she wanted to know what nearby countries could she go to that she can hop into for a short period of time and then leave. I guess she's trying to find the country that would give her the least amount of problems in entering and exiting. And so the lawyers ask her, what kind of visa do you have? And she says, I have a tourist visa. They ask to look at it. She shows it to them. And the lawyer immediately spots out that you have a single entry tourist visa. So once you leave India, you cannot come back in. You're going to have to reapply for another tourist visa. She already told them that she has a fiance in India, but they're not ready to get married yet. So I guess the whole spousal thing, because they gave her the option, they said, well, if you don't want to reapply for another tourist visa, then you can get married to your fiance if you're going to get married in less than 30 days. You can get married to your fiance, and then I guess they can start the spousal visa process. But I guess Jen isn't ready to get married because she didn't look like she wanted to go that route. She seemed really stressed out about the fact that once she leaves India, she can't come back in until she reapplies for a new tourist visa. So she leaves the office very stressed out. She's crying in the taxi cab. She feels stupid because she completely overlooked that. And I don't see how you could overlook that, because when it comes to stuff like your passport and your visa, you need to read the fine print. Now, I understand that we get really lazy when it comes to reading the fine print. We don't read them on receipts. We don't read them on when we go buy a car, when we sign mortgages. We don't read none of that stuff when we're signing leases and we're renting property. Nobody reads that stuff. We're just signing on the bottom line. But when it comes to you leaving the country and the possibility of you getting stuck somewhere else, you need to read the damn fine print, girl. And you have two masters. And so reading and comprehending all of the, whatever these documents are saying should not be a problem for you. So on her way back home, she's crying about, oh, how could I have been so stupid? How could I have overlooked, what it said on my visa? So she meets up with Rishi and she tells him the bad news. She says, look, I went to the attorney told me that I have a single entry visa, and that once I leave India, I cannot come back in until I reapply for a new visa. And nobody knows how long that's going to take. So we're back to square one, where we're dealing with a long distance relationship. And the first time they did this, it was very stressful. I think they almost broke up. So she doesn't tell him about the other option of getting married. She doesn't bring that up to him. I'm assuming it's because she herself is not ready to marry him right then and there. I don't know what's going on, but all I can say is, Jen, you should have read the fine print. I don't know what else to say. She talks about also how if she does go back to the United States, her family and her friends are going to put a lot of pressure on her to not leave again. And then she might not even feel motivated enough to go through the whole arduous process of reapplying for another visa and coming back into India. So I have a feeling that I don't even know what they're going to do. I don't even know. I don't know. I have no idea. We just have to wait and find out. Because I wanted to say, I think they're probably just going to go ahead and get married. But Rishi, he's so scared of his family and telling them the truth that, yes, I'm engaged to this white American woman, this white American 48-year-old woman. I'm going to marry her. And that's that. He's so scared to tell his family this. But we'll see on the next episode how that goes. Because he's worried that they're going to lock him up in the basement and not let him come out again until he agrees to marry an Indian woman, I guess. I don't know. Moving on to Osama and Debbie. Okay, Debbie. First of all, so Debbie's that kind of woman where her head is in the clouds, right? She thinks this relationship is some type of a Grimm's fairy tale story that she's living. And, she's, this princess who's found her prince and they're going to live happily ever after in some castle. She's so far removed from reality. But Osama gives her a very quick reality check. So they're in the car on their way to the hotel, and she's asking Osama, what type of wife do you expect me to be? And he says, well, I expect you to be half Moroccan. What half do you want her to be Moroccan? The top half? And then the bottom half, you want her to be all American? Is that what you're implying? What half is Moroccan? Okay. So he says, I want you to be half Moroccan. And he says that he's going to expect her to do the cooking and the cleaning, washing his clothes. When they go to his family's home out in the country, he says that his mother would greatly appreciate it if, Debbie can step in and help out with all of the housework. And he says, I expect you to work very hard. And Debbie says, I've been working hard all my damn life. Okay. That's how I have this fat pension and Social Security check, because I've been working hard all my life. So she's like, well, I didn't expect this. He didn't tell me this before I left America. This is what he was expecting of me to do. Okay, Debbie, Everybody told you this was a bad idea. It doesn't matter what Osama did or didn't tell you. Everybody else was telling you this was a really, really, really bad idea. And for you to think that a 67-year-old woman and a 24-year-old guy are going to run off into the sunset together and live happily ever after, what kind of drugs are you on, Debbie? What kind of hallucinogens are you on? But anyway, so they get to the hotel. They get to the hotel and, they have to have separate rooms because of, cultural reasons. And then while they're having dinner, she wants to talk to Osama about how long exactly they're going to be staying with his parents, because she just wants to, maybe spend about a night or two over there. The third night they're going to get married and then come right on back to the big city and look for an apartment and start their life together. That's what she's expecting. He says to her, well, we'll stay there, maybe 2 to 3 months, or however, you can stay there however long you want. But really, we'll be there a couple of months. And then after that, you're going to go back to America. He says after that, you're going to go back to the United States. And, I'm pretty sure that you have stuff to take care of over there. And then we'll figure it out after that. We'll kind of play it by ear. And she's like, excuse me, I'm going back to the United States. He says, yep. And then she says, I'm going back to the United States. He says, yep. And she wants to know, why didn't you tell me all of this before I left America? And he says, because then you wouldn't have come. So she had packed up her whole entire life to move to Morocco and start this brand new life with her 24-year-old lover. And he's telling her, yeah, I'm sending you right back. We're going to go live with my parents. You're going to, cook and clean and wash clothes. And then you're going back home. And then, I'll let you know after that. Keep your phone on. I'll let you know. I'm going to holler at you. I'll let you know if you can come back or not. And so she says, we've been together for 3 whole years. How much, because he was trying to let her know, we need to kind of test it out. We need to see how we're going to be getting along, how compatible we are. And she goes, we've been together for 3 years. And he says, yeah, online. That's not real life, Debbie. He says, yeah, we've been together for 3 years online. That's not real life. So we need to test out reality. So she's busy with her once upon a time life, and he's trying to get into, the real deal Holyfield everyday business of a relationship. And Debbie's upset. She says, I moved my whole life to Morocco just for you to tell me that in 2 months I got to go back to America. And basically he just wants a reset on their relationship. Now the real relationship begins. When we're living together every day, this is where the real relationship starts. Forget about all that online stuff. Forget about all the poetry that I was sending you and all the paintings you were sending me. Forget about all that stuff. Now we're going to be dealing with real life, Moroccan, everyday farm life. And now we're going to see how compatible we really are. If somebody would have told me something like that, if I would have had this expectation of starting my life in a whole nother country, getting our own apartment, getting married, and you're telling me that we're going to be out in the country on your family's farm for 2 months, and then you're sending me back home, I would have packed up my bags right then and there. I would have left the dinner table right then and there. Packed up my bags and got on the first plane to somewhere. It may not be back home to wherever she's from, Alabama, Mississippi. It may not. I'm leaving here and I'm going to end up somewhere else because I need to get the hell away from you before I find myself in a Moroccan jail. That's what I would have done. But she's not going to do that. Moving on to Mahmoud and Nicole. Y'all, Mahmoud and Nicole, they're still fighting. They're still fighting about what he expects her to wear. And he just wants to end the fight. So he's like, I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. And she doesn't want to accept the apology because she says you're only apologizing because you don't want to fight anymore. Yes. He's apologizing because he doesn't want to fight anymore. What is wrong with that, Nicole? So this whole entire time that they've been bickering, the uncle has been waiting for them to show up at his house because they're supposed to talk business about this clothing company. The uncle owns a clothing factory, and so Mahmoud and Nicole are supposed to start their own clothing business, and I guess the uncle is going to be making the clothes. So this whole time they're bickering, the uncle's waiting. So the uncle calls and says, "What the hell? I've been waiting hours for you. Are you coming or not?" So finally they decide to go. Nicole initially did not want to go because she's still mad at Mahmoud. So she really didn't want to go because she told him, "No, I'm not going." And he was like, "We have to go. You know, it's very disrespectful." So then she changes her mind, but she's still very, 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 very pissed off at him. So they go to the uncle's house. They arrive and she shows them her designs. The uncle likes the designs. Okay, fine. And it's her whole thing is, modest clothing that looks fashionable. And so the uncle is like, "Okay, this is a really good idea, but where's the head covering? You have to include head coverings as well." And then he tells his nephew Mahmoud, "How come your wife isn't wearing a head covering?" And what can you say? So then, Nicole is like, "What's none of their business why I'm not wearing a head covering?" And then they talk about the issues that Mahmoud is having with Nicole, the fact that she doesn't, she's not traditional, she doesn't do the traditional things. And the uncle says, "Well, you have to teach her. You have to teach her, you have to explain, not just telling her to do them, but you have to explain why we do the things that we do. Like why women have to wear head coverings and why do we have to pray and why we do this and why we do that. You have to teach her, you have to explain these things to her. Don't just demand them." The uncle also said that if Nicole did not convert to Islam, then they would not be imposing this Islamic lifestyle on her. They wouldn't be expecting her to dress a certain way and to do certain things. But because she converted, then she has to live up to the expectations of a Muslim woman. Now, if she did not convert, I don't think they would have been able to get married, right? So what is the point of the uncle saying that if she had remained Christian, they wouldn't be imposing all of these Islamic things on her? Because if she didn't convert, then they couldn't have gotten married. Anywho. So she is questioning her faith now, and she knows that if she tells Mahmoud that she's questioning her faith, it's going to put their marriage in jeopardy because Mahmoud wants to be married to a Muslim woman. Y'all are just going to have to get a divorce. And I said this last time. Y'all are just going to have to get a divorce. It's just not going to work. This is not going to work. This relationship is so incredibly toxic. This relationship is a horrible, one of the worst marriages that I have seen on 90 Day Fiancé of any franchise. This relationship is horrible because they have argued non-stop. And it comes to a point where when you're arguing, you get to a point where you're even tired of arguing. You just want to stop. It doesn't even matter anymore who's right or who's wrong. You just want to stop. Nicole hasn't reached that point. She hasn't reached that point. And Nicole probably has a lot of argument left in her. She can go probably for several days. She just seems extremely argumentative. Like that's just her nature. Anyways, moving on. Chris and Jamie. Chris is in pain again, y'all. She is on the list of the sick and shut in. She's in the bed. She can't move. She can't get out of bed. And they have plans. They have plans to meet Jamie's two friends for drinks, but she can't move. So Jamie has to go by herself. So she meets up with her two friends. She talks to them about, Chris's for her physical ailments. She's got this horrible neck and back injury. She can't move. So, she tells them about the fact that Chris has to go back to Alabama to deal with her court issue because of her motorcycle being stolen. And the friends find it extremely suspicious that she's going to be leaving around the time that they're supposed to be getting married. So the friends are thinking that maybe Chris is having second thoughts about being with Jamie, and that she's probably going back to Alabama to never return again. But we see the clips from the next week's episode where it looks like they did get married. So that is my little review of 90 Day Fiance. Gabriel and Isabelle, I'm not too worried about them. I think the parents will definitely come around. Rishi and Jen, Jen, go back home. Osama and Debbie, go back home. Mahmoud and Nicole, go back home. Chris and Jamie, we'll see how this works out. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.